And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Talk about their season, how it went, and what they've done in the offseason so far. It was not a great year for the Jaguars. It was not. You go back to 2023, and they were 8-3, and they ended up having a collapse at the end of the year. And they ended up losing out on the division. They finished 9-8. They finished behind the Texans in the division. And yeah, so they missed out on the playoffs. So going into 2024, I think I gave them 8 wins. And I said, you know what? They're probably still not the best team, but I don't think they're going to be completely out of this thing. But I was wrong. They only won 4 games. They finished in 3rd place. And it was a disaster of a season for the Jaguars. In the division, they went through. Well, actually, they went 3-3 in the division. They went 4-8 in the conference. They went 0-5 against the NFC. They were 1-8 on the road. And yeah, they started off the year 0-4. They were winning against the Dolphins. They had a double-digit lead. But the Dolphins ended up coming back, and Jason Sanders ended up kicking a game-winning field goal. Then they lose that ugly game at home in Week 2 against the Browns. That was just a very ugly game. Trevor Lawrence did not play well in that game. They only put up 13 points. So, yeah, they lose that. Then the Monday night game against the Bills happens, and oh, man. That was a disaster from start to finish. They lose 47-10. Mac Jones actually saw some action in that game. Then they went up against the Texans, and they were competitive in that game. Trevor Lawrence had a couple of touchdown passes, but C.J. Stroud threw the go-ahead touchdown to Ungabuwale late in the 4th quarter. Actually, there was 18 seconds left. So they lose that. But they did beat Joe Flacco and the Colts at home. Trevor Lawrence had a very good day, 371 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Tank Bigsby had over 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But then they got blown out in London against the Bears, 35-16. They come back the following week. They do beat up on the Patriots. They went 32-16. They lose to the Packers at home. Jordan Love actually got hurt in that game. They had a chance to win, but they ended up losing. Jason Sanders kicked a go-ahead field goal to win that. They were coming back against the Eagles. I mean, they had a chance to maybe pull off a massive upset, but Trevor Lawrence threw a couple of picks in that game. Was not great in that contest. Threw an interception at the end. They ended up losing by 5. Trevor Lawrence actually didn't play against the Vikings the following week. Mac Jones played. Jaguars only put up 7 points. They held the Vikings to 4 field goals, but they still ended up losing. So they were 2-8 at that point. Then they lost 52-6 to the Lions. So they went into the bye week at 2-9. Came out of the bye week. They lost to the Texans. Trevor Lawrence came back but got hurt again, the concussion. By Alshire. So they lost 23-20 in that game. They won 10-6 against the Titans. That was an ugly game. Then they lost to the Jets. Mac Jones had almost 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Threw the game-sealing pick to Sauce Gardner at the end. Then they lost to the Raiders. They beat the Titans. So they swept the Titans, at least. Oh, wait, actually, no. Did they sweep? Yeah, they swept the Titans. And then they lost to the Colts in overtime, final game of the regular season, to go 4-13. So Mac Jones finished out the year for them. He's now a member of the 49ers. And you look at Trevor Lawrence on the year, he was not great. And he was also hurt again. 2,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns to 7 picks. Mac Jones had 1,600 yards passing, 8 touchdowns to 8 picks. Tank Bigsby was a bright spot for them. He had 766 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. Massive disappointment was Travis Etienne. You go back to 2023, and he had 267 carries for over 1,000 yards. He had 11 touchdowns, 11 rushing touchdowns, right? He only had 150 carries, 558 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns in 2024. What happened? What happened to him? So he was disappointing. Another bright spot for them, well, the biggest bright spot of them all, Brian Thomas Jr., their rookie wide receiver out of LSU. 87 receptions, 1,282 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. Was a stud for them, and he looks like he is going to be on his way to being one of the better receivers in the league. Christian Kirk was hurt all year, basically. Evan Ingram was hurt. Gabe Davis was in and out of the lineup. They brought him in. He was a disappointment. He only had 239 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, and then defensively, their sacks leader was Trayvon Walker. He got 8 sacks from Josh Hines-Allen. Interceptions, they did not have a ton. Looking at their stats specifically, so you look at their offense. Their offense ranked 25th in total yards per game, 24th in passing yards per game, and 26th in rushing yards per game. And points per game, they were 27th. They averaged 17.9 points per game. And they were 22nd in third down conversions. Then their defense doesn't get any better. Defense allowed 25.6 points per game, which was 27th in the league. They were 31st in total yards per game. They gave up almost 400 yards of total offense. And then they were 32nd against the pass, giving up an average of 257.3 passing yards per game. And they gave up 25 point... Oh, wait, I said that already. Yeah, so their defense, they were 30th in interceptions, and they were 28th in sacks. 35.5 sacks, or 33.5 sacks. This was not a very good team. Now, they let go of Doug Peterson. They bring in Liam Cohen, an offensive-minded guy. Did very well with Baker Mayfield in Tampa, so hopefully that's the same thing. Same thing translates with Trevor Lawrence. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the roster. They brought in Jordan Lewis over from Dallas. They added Nick Mullins to be a backup. Eric Murray they signed, a safety. They signed a couple of offensive linemen. They brought in De'Ami Brown from the Commanders. A couple of tight ends they signed. A couple of tackles they signed. But, yeah, there's a lot of things the Jaguars could do with their first pick. I believe they have the 6th pick in the draft. I mean, I think they could go best player of it. Oh, they have the 5th pick. My mistake. They could do a lot with that pick. Offensive line, defensive line, maybe corner, maybe Will Johnson. That could be a spot for him. Could they go receiver? I don't know. There's a lot they could do with that pick. They could trade down and get a lot of picks. But yeah, so they got the 5th pick in the first round. They got in the second round. They're picking. That's the number 141 overall pick. They got 2 third-rounders. They got 2 fourth-rounders. They got a 5th-rounder, 2 6th-rounders, and a 7th-rounder. So, yeah, there's a lot they could do with those picks. If I go to Tankathon, they have, going to the Jaguars, let's see what they have. Oh, so they got Mason Graham, the D tackle out of Michigan. So, it's possible they do that. But, yeah, I feel like they could do that. Defensive line, corner, offensive line. Could take, receiver. Maybe they wait. Actually, yeah, no. I think that would be a mistake. Because you got Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe a receiver they take in the later rounds. But, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the Jaguars. I mean, we'll see if Liam Cohen ends up being the guy. But it was just a very down year. And Trevor Lawrence got paid a lot of money in the offseason. And so far, that contract has not looked good. And we're still waiting on him to take the next step. Now, this is going to be, what is this, year 5 already? Yeah. They made the playoffs in 2022. We thought we were heading in the right direction. And then the last couple of years, it's just taking a step back. Massive steps back. Also because he's just gotten hurt too. So, hopefully turns it around. He could stay healthy. Offensive line, I think, is something they can continue to address in this draft. Maybe that's something they could do. But yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this team. But let me know what you guys think about the Jaguars and their season. You think they could bounce back from this? Do you think Liam Cohen is the right man for the job? How do you think Trevor Lawrence is going to do? It's going to be different, though. There's no more Christian Kirk. There's no more Evan Ingram. So, we'll see what happens. But that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows as well. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to our videos. We greatly appreciate that. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast if you want to listen to us on those platforms. And, another week in the books. And until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. Take care.